Hey there guys, and welcome to part 9 of Let's Play Dragon Age Origins. Corp here. We just got finished in Lothering, and now we are at our Grey Warden camp out in the wilderness. This episode is going to be just me talking to my party members, because I know a lot of people don't like listening to it. If you want to go ahead and skip to the next storyline part, we will be doing Warden's Keep next. I am 100% sure about that, because that's what I always do after Lothering. But yeah, so this episode's just going to be me talking to my companions. I know some people like to listen to the companions and learn more about the companions, and other people just want the storyline. So I will put a link in the video if you want to go ahead and skip forward to the next video. If not, guys, stick with me. We're going to talk to our companions, and we're going to get this underway. So one thing when you start off this game is your companions, you know, they're kind of indifferent about you. If you get over here, you can look at the bars and, you know, neutral. They don't really care that too much. But one thing you could do is you can go over to the vendor here, which Bodan, Fedek, and Saddle are doing over there, and you can actually buy gifts for your companions. Now, I don't like to give them 100% love right away.
It's good to see you, my timely rescuer. Bodan Fedek, at your service once again. I saw your camp and thought to myself, what safer place to rest for the evening than in the camp of a Grey Warden? I'm perfectly willing to offer you a fine discount for the inconvenience of our presence. How does that sound? Good? Yes?
You're definitely free to say it. Well, no, I don't want to say that's going to mean. Let me see your wares, Bodan.
I'm sure you'll be pleased with the goods my boy and I have collected, and with your discount.
Alright, so he will actually sell you, I'll get that backpack, thoughtful gifts, which you can give to your companions, and will increase their, basically just how much they like you. I'm not going to max out 100% right away, because kind of unrealistic that they automatically love you just because you gave them 10 gifts as soon as you got to camp for the first time. So we'll sell some of this stuff here. This guy have any armor for me? Could do that later. 32 gold right now. Let's see. I don't have enough strength for that yet. We'll wait to buy the blood iron stuff. Okay. Sell those. We could sell that and that and that and that. Alright, so we've got some thoughtful gifts now. So let's go over here to the companion page, and let's say we'll do... Actually, because Morgan can actually... She likes that.
A fine gift. You have my thanks.
And we'll give her...
Interesting.
Let's give her 2 of those. Maybe 3.
Interesting.
Yeah, she's warm now. So we'll give each of our companions 3.
Why, thank you so much.
Just so they like us a little bit more. They don't get pissed off at us.
You have my thanks.
And where's Alistair? There we go.
Oh, thank you. That's very nice.
Alright, so we'll just hang on to 13 of those for now. We've got some of these other stuff here. I think that goes to Liliana, but I'm not sure. We'll hold on to those for a little while longer. Let's go ahead and get some of our enchantment done.
The boy's a bit simple, but he's rather good with enchantments. One of those tranquil fellas actually called him a... what was it now? A savant. I had no idea such a thing existed.
What enchantments does he do?
He can fold lyrium into almost any weapon or piece of armor, though naturally some of the more extravagant materials will take more lyrium than others. It's a process that some of the master smiths back in Orzammar will perform, but my boy here is just as adept at it. Isn't that right, boy?
Enchantment!
And there you have it.
Alright, well I want some enchanting done.
Enchantment!
I don't know if my blade actually... just the edge can. Can I equip that yet? Maybe I can. So we'll go ahead and enchant it. I don't know if I can equip that. No, I need a little bit more dexterity. So the next time we level up, we'll get some more dexterity. Oh, and as your friends basically start to like you more, they'll get buffs. But we'll do that in a little bit. Let's go ahead and talk to Levi Dryden. We'll get the quest for Warden's Keep, and then we'll talk to our
You're a
allies.
hard man to find. Where are my manners? The name is Levi Dryden. Did Duncan ever mention me? Levy of the Coins? Levy the Trader?
I'm Mather. I've never heard of you.
Really? He never told you of old Levy? We've known each other for years. But here I am carrying on while you have a blight to stop. Don't want to waste your time. But you see, Duncan promised that together we'd look into something important for the Wardens. And for me. But poor Duncan's... well, no more. A tragedy it is, at that. But I know he would want his work carried on. His pledge fulfilled.
And what promise did Duncan make to you?
Well, as you know, my family's name is mud around noble circles. My great-great-grandmother, Sophia Dryden, was the last Warden commander of Ferelden back when the Wardens were known as freeloaders. So King Orland banished the Wardens, and he took House Dryden's land and titles.
What happened next?
Hard to say. After King Orland died, there was a civil war, loads worse than this one. And our family was on the run, hunted by enemies, with nary a friend in the world. But Drydens are tough. We rebuilt, became merchants, and we never lost our pride.
Just tell me what I need to know.
Duncan wanted to reclaim the old Grey Warden base, Soldier's Peak, and perhaps we'll uncover evidence to restore my family's honour along the way. Nobody's been to Soldier's Peak since the Grey Wardens were banished, but I found a way. They say it's haunted, and it's certainly dangerous. Will you help me?
Your family's faith will be rewarded. I will help you.
1,000 blessings upon you, Warden. I'll mark down the location on your map. When you arrive, we'll pick our way through the tunnels together.
Sounds like a plan. Alright, so we've got the quest to go take back a Warden base, which we will do after we talk to our companions. So, let's go ahead and talk to Stin here.
You are not quite as callow as I thought. That is unexpected.
Callow? You thought I was callow?
You sound surprised. You must have heard this before. Get over it. Eventually.
Why did you come to Ferelden?
I was sent to be the eyes of the Antom. The Arishok asked what is the Blight. By his curiosity, I am now here.
What's an Arishok?
The one who commands the Antom, the body of the Kunari.
So he's your king?
Kunari have no kings.
Why does he care about the Blight?
Why do you?
I'm a Grey Warden. It's my job.
Exactly. You don't ask, nor do I. The Arishok sends me and I go.
Did you find the answer to his question?
A portion of it.
Don't you have to report back then?
Yes.
So what, when are you going to do that?
Never. I cannot go home.
And why not?
It doesn't matter now. Can we move on? We keep the Darkspawn waiting.
What were you doing in that cage?
Does it matter? Very well. I caged myself. A weak mind is a deadly foe, as you are no doubt aware.
Exactly what happened.
I came to your lands with 7 of the Beresad, my brothers, to seek answers about the Blight. We made our way across the Ferelden countryside without incident, seeing nothing of the threat we were sent to observe. Until the night we camped by Lake Calenhad. They came from everywhere. The earth beneath our feet, the air above us. Our own shadows harbored the Darkspawn. I saw the last of the creatures cut down, too late. I fell.
What happened to the other Kunari?
I am told no others survived. I don't know how long I lay on the battlefield among the dead, nor do I know how the farmers found me. I only know that when I woke I was no longer among my brothers, and my sword was gone from my hand.
You probably dropped it on the battlefield.
Perhaps. I searched for it, and when that failed I asked my rescuers what had become of it.
And then?
I killed them. With my bare hands. I did. I knew they didn't have the blade. They had no reason to lie to me. I panicked. Unthinking, I struck them down.
That's terrible.
I know I cannot justify what I have done. My honor is forfeit. That sword was made for my hand alone. I have carried it from the day I was set into the Beresad. I was to die wielding it for my people. Even if I could cross Ferelden and Tevinter unarmed and alone to bring my report to the Arishok, I would be slain on sight by the Entam. They would know me as soulless, a deserter. No soldier would cast aside his blade while he drew breath.
Couldn't you search for it?
If I knew where to look, it would be in my hand now.
Where did you find the Darkspawn?
Near Lake Callanhad.
Don't worry, Sten. We'll find it.
Perhaps those words are empty, but thank you all the same.
Alright, well that's really all we're going to get out of Sten right now. We've got a quest, excuse me, to find his sword. Let's go ahead and talk to Alistair here.
Something on your mind?
Do you want to talk about Duncan?
You don't have to do that. I know you didn't know him as long as I did.
I thought you might just need to talk.
I should have handled it better. Duncan warned me right from the beginning that this could happen. Any of us could die in battle. I shouldn't have lost it, not when so much is riding on us, not with the Blight and everything. I'm sorry.
There's no need to apologize.
I'd like to have a proper funeral for him. Maybe once this is all done, if we're still alive. I don't think he had any family to speak of.
He had you.
I suppose he did. It probably sounds stupid, but part of me wishes I was with him, in the battle. I feel like I abandoned him.
No, I understand completely.
Of course, I'd be dead then, wouldn't I? It's not like that would make him happier. I think he came from High Ever, or so he said. Maybe I'll go up there sometime. See about putting up something in his honor. I don't know. Have you had someone close to you die? Not that I mean to pry, I'm just...
My entire family was murdered just recently.
Oh, of course. How stupid of me to forget. Here I am going on and on about Duncan, and you... I am so sorry. Thank you. It was good to talk about this with a friend. It means a lot to me.
Maybe I'll go to High Ever with you when you go.
I'd like that. So would he, I think.
Alright,
Something on your mind? Of course.
Let's see. So what can a Templar do exactly?
Essentially, they're trained to fight. The Chantry would tell you that the Templars exist simply to defend. But don't let them fool you. They're an army. The other main purpose for a Templar is, of course, to hunt mages. To that end, we train in talents that drain mana and disrupt spells.
So couldn't others learn these talents?
Perhaps, but there usually isn't much of an opportunity. The Chantry keeps a close rein on its Templars. We are given lyrium to help develop our magical talents, you see. Which means we become addicted. And since the Chantry controls the lyrium trade with the dwarves, I'm sure you can put two and two together.
So you were addicted to this lyrium?
Thankfully, no. You only start receiving lyrium once you've taken your vows. You don't need lyrium in order to learn the Templar talents. Lyrium just makes Templar's talents more effective. Or so I was told. Maybe it doesn't even do that. The Chantry usually doesn't let their Templars get away either, so they can spread their secrets. I'm a bit of an exception. Lucky me. Something on your mind?
I have some questions.
Of course.
Can you teach others to become a Templar?
Sure, I could. I could even teach you, I suppose. Anyone who's been trained as a warrior. I guess if I'm going to give up Chantry secrets, I may as well go all the way. Send whoever you want trained to me in camp, and I'll see what I can do.
Alright,
Something
we've
on your
unlocked
mind?
Templar.
Of course.
Talk to Alistair some more. Tell me about the Grey Wardens.
Such as they are.
Where is the nearest Grey Wardens from here?
That's a good question. There's plenty in Orlais, but who knows where they might be found. And the nearest Orlesian city is weeks away. If we go north and cross the sea, there's bound to be some in the Free Marches. Again, however, I just don't know where. I don't know anything about Grey Wardens in other lands.
Is there a headquarters somewhere?
Here in Ferelden, there's our compound in Denerim at the palace, but that's it. Loghain will have control over that and be watching it, no doubt. Beyond that, the only place I know of is Weishaupt Fortress. That's the headquarters of all Grey Wardens in the Anderfells, 1,000 miles from here. But I've no idea how to even contact them. So unless we try to get back to the compound in Denerim, I suppose the answer is no. There's nowhere for us to go.
So what happens now that there's just two of us?
I imagine that eventually the Grey Wardens outside of Ferelden will wonder what's happened. Why there's no contact from Duncan or someone. They'll send someone eventually. Though who knows what Loghain's people in Denerim will tell them. Maybe they won't send anyone. We could try to contact them. But that would mean leaving Ferelden, and even if we did, they couldn't come back with us in time to stop the Blight. So that means whatever happens, it's up to us.
Will we need to start rebuilding the Order?
I mean, eventually we would have to use the joining to make more Grey Wardens, right? But I don't know how to do the joining, or what's involved. I know it involves lyrium and some other magic, and that it's really difficult to prepare, but that's it. Unless we can find out more about the joining, I guess we better get used to the idea that there might only be two of us for now. Until more come from elsewhere.
I have no more questions.
About the Grey Wardens, anyhow. Fair enough. Something on your mind? Of course.
Let's see. So how did you become a Grey Warden?
Same way you did. You drink some blood, you choke on it, and pass out. You haven't forgotten already, have you?
Haha, very funny.
I do my best. What can I say? Let's see, I was in the Chantry before. I trained for many years to become a Templar, in fact. That's where I learned most of my skills.
You don't really seem to be the religious sort.
You're telling me I was banished to the kitchens to scour the pots more times than I can count. And that's a lot. I can count pretty high. The Grand Cleric didn't want to let me go. Duncan was forced to conscript me, actually, and was she ever furious when he did. I thought she was going to have us both arrested. I was lucky.
You think Duncan... sorry guys, I can't talk today. You think Duncan took pity on you?
I don't know. Maybe. When he came looking for recruits, I just remember praying fervently to the Maker that he would pick me. I'll always be thankful to Duncan for recruiting me. If it hadn't been for him, you know, I wouldn't have.
He was a good man.
He was. A good man who didn't deserve his fate. That much I'm sure of. Come on, let's go. I think I'm done talking.
Yeah, we're not done talking quite yet, Alistair. I've got a few more questions. So you said this Arl Eamon raised you?
Did I say that? I meant that dogs raised me. Giant slobbering dogs from the Anderfells. A whole pack of them, in fact.
That would explain the smell.
Well, it wasn't until I was 8 that I discovered you didn't have to lick yourself clean. Old habits die hard, you know.
Slobbering dogs, I see.
Or did I dream all of that? Funny the dreams you'll have when you sleep on a cold, hard ground, isn't it?
Is this going somewhere?
You have no sense of humor, you know that. Fine, fine. Have it your way. Let's see, how do I explain this? I'm a bastard. And before you make any smart comments, I mean the fatherless kind. My mother was a serving girl in Redcliffe Castle who died when I was very young. Arl Eamon wasn't my father, but he took me in anyhow and put a roof over my head. He was good to me, and he didn't have to be. I respect the man, and I don't blame him anymore for sending me off to the Chantry once I was old enough.
Why did he send you off to the Chantry?
Arl Eamon eventually married a young woman from Orlais, which caused all sorts of problems between him and the king because it was so soon after the war. But he loved her. Anyhow, then you, Arlessa, resented the rumors which pegged me as his bastard. They weren't true, but of course they existed. The Isle didn't care, but she did. So off I was packed to the nearest monastery at age 10, just as well. The Arlessa made sure the castle wasn't a home to me by that point. She despised me.
You were probably luckier than most orphans, though.
I suppose you're right. I wasn't raised as the Arl's son, though, if you're picturing that. I slept in hay, out in the stables, not on silk sheets. I remember I had an amulet with Andraste's holy symbol on it. The only thing I had of my mother's. I was so furious at being sent away, I tore it off and threw it at the wall and it shattered. Stupid, stupid thing to do. The Isle came by the monastery a few times to see how I was, but I was stubborn. I hated it there. I blamed him for everything. And eventually, he just stopped coming.
You were young.
And raised my dogs. Or I may as well have been, the way I acted. But maybe all young bastards act like that. I don't know. All I know is that the Arl is a good man, and well loved by the people. He also was King Kaelin's uncle, so he has a personal motivation to see Loghain pay for what he did. Anyway, that's really all there is to the story.
Alright, so that's us talking to Alistair. I think that's good for now. Let's go talk to Liliana.
Something I can help with?
What would someone like you be doing in the Lothering Chantry?
What is meant by someone like me?
They don't teach you how to fight in the cloister, do they?
Did you think I was always a cloistered sister? The Chantry provides succor and safe harbor to all who seek it. I chose to stay and become affirmed.
What did you do before that?
I was a traveling minstrel in Orlais. Tales and songs were my life. I performed, and they rewarded me with applause and coin. And my skill in battle? Well, you pick up different skills when you travel, yes? Yes, of course. Let's move on.
Someone's reluctant to talk about something.
Something I can help with?
I'd like to talk to you about something.
Yes? What's on your mind?
This vision of yours.
I knew this would come up sooner or later. I don't know how to explain, but I had a dream. In it, there was an impenetrable darkness. It was so dense, so real. And there was a noise, a terrible, ungodly noise. I stood on a peak and watched as the darkness consumed everything. And when the storm swallowed the last of the sun's light, I fell, and the darkness drew me in.
You dreamed of the Blight?
I suppose I did. That was what the darkness was, no? When I woke, I went to the Chantry's gardens, as I always do. But that day, the rosebush in the corner had flowered. Everyone knew that bush was dead. It was grey and twisted and gnarled, the ugliest thing you ever saw. But there it was, a single beautiful rose. It was as though the Maker stretched out his hand to say, even in the midst of this darkness, there is hope and beauty. Have faith.
And this made you want to help me?
In my dream, I fell. Or maybe I jumped. I'd do anything to stop the Blight. I know that we can do it. There are so many good things in the Maker's world. How can I sit by while the Blight devours everything?
The Chantry says the Maker has left us.
He's still here. I hear him in the wind and the waves. I feel him in the sunlight that warms my skin. I know what the Chantry says about the Maker, and what should I believe? What I feel in my heart, or what others tell me?
Believe what feels right to you, Liliana.
Thank you. It's nice to find someone who agrees. I know what I know, and no one will ever make that untrue.
Not saying I agree, just saying, do you, girl.
Something I can help with?
Alright.
Yes? What's on
Let's
your
talk
mind?
about something. Why did you decide to come to Ferelden?
My mother was from Denerim, and I consider myself a Ferelden. Mother served an Orlesian noblewoman who lived here when Orlais ruled. When Orlais was defeated and the common folk began to resent the presence of any Orlesian, the lady returned to Orlais. She took my mother with her. I was born in Orlais and did not set foot in Ferelden until much later. Mother was always telling me stories of her homeland. I think she missed it.
What happened to your mother?
Mother died when I was very young. Lady Cecily let me stay with her. I had no one else. She was quite old then, and she had me study music and dance to entertain her. It is unfair that I have more memories of Cecily than my mother.
You were young, it's understandable.
Strangely, the only thing I really remember of Mother was her scent. She kept dry flowers in her closet amongst her clothes. Small white Ferelden wildflowers with a sweet fragrance. Mother called them Andraste's Grace. They were very rare in Orlais. But enough about that. Let us move on.
Talk to her
Someone
some
I can
more.
help with?
Let's go ahead and get all this stuff out of the way.
Yes? What's on your mind?
Do you miss anything about Orlais?
I miss Val-Royeaux. Unlike other cities where the people are the lifeblood and the character, Val-Royeaux was her own person, and her people little more than decorations. There was always music in Val-Royeaux, streaming from the many windows, quiet refrains and triumphant choruses, and always, floating above that all, the chant, coming from the grand cathedral. It was magnificent.
I've never been to Orlais.
If you get the chance, you should see it, at least Val-Royeaux. Of course there are good things and bad things about Orlais, like anywhere else. Sometimes I miss it dearly, and sometimes I'm glad I'm rid of it. And you will laugh at this, but I miss the fine things I had in Orlais.
It must have been a big change moving to Lothering.
I left behind much, leaving Orlais. But there is more to life than dresses and furs. It is sad that many have lost sight of this. Orlais is very fashionable, almost ridiculously so. But the shoes! Living with those ridiculous trends was worth it for the shoes.
You can get some nice shoes in Denham, I guess.
Ferelden folk are so much more practical. I don't see them making use of something simply for its looks. When I left Orlais, the fashion was shoes with delicate tapered heels and embellishments in the front. A ribbon, perhaps, or embroidery. In soft colors, of course. It was spring.
Must have cost a lot of gold.
Yes, well, a fair amount. It is so frivolous and wasteful, I know, but I have such a weakness for lovely shoes. Oh, I could talk about shoes all day, but we have things to do, don't we?
Let's see if she has anything else to say. We want to get all this stuff out of the way, so later on, when they've got other things to talk about, all these will be out of the way. Let's see. I'd like to talk to you about something.
What's on your mind?
Yeah, okay. I heard that in Orlais, minstrels are often spies.
Where did you hear this?
I don't remember.
Not all minstrels are spies. Most are just singers and storytellers, but some of them are what we call bards.
And the bards are the spies?
Bards are minstrels and more. Spies, as you say. Some say there is a bard order, but I don't think this is true. Many bards work alone or in small groups, doing the bidding of a patron who pays for their services. If there is an organization behind it all, no one knows who they are.
Do they spy on Ferelden?
Some do. Mostly, it is nobles spying on other nobles. In Orlais, there is much rivalry amongst the highborn. They fight over land, influence, and the favor of the empress. But they cannot do this openly because it is impolite, and in public, they wear smiling faces and pretend to be civil. In secret, they plot and scheme to destroy each other. It is a game completely meaningless to anyone but its players.
You were a bard, weren't you?
I have revealed too much, it seems, but it doesn't matter what I used to be. It is the past.
But why were you living cloistered? Why were you living cloistered sister in a ruler Ferelden?
I found myself in Ferelden and sheltered from bad weather in the Chantry. And when the storm passed, I just did not want to leave. I like to see the Maker brought me here.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if she has anything else to say. I guess we'll ask her that.
I don't think you have the correct aptitude. I could give you some pointers, though. You may be able to pass them on to someone you know. Let's just go over there, away from the others. For safety, yes? I expect there shall be daggers flying about willy-nilly for a time.
Alright, so I just asked her if I could become a bard, and since I'm not a rogue, I can't become a bard, but I'll be able to teach that to other companions.
Something I can help with?
Let's see if she has anything else to say.
What's on your mind?
Alright, I don't really want to listen to any of her stories, but that takes way too long. So, Morgan will be my romance option in this game. I like Morgan way better than Liliana, and I will not be romancing any of the dudes. I'm sorry, guys. Morgan is where my heart belongs, and always will be. So, let's go flirt a little bit.
I await your command.
So life in the wilds must have been very lonely.
At times, perhaps. A world full of people and buildings and things was all very foreign to me. If I wished companionship, I ran with the wolves and flew with the birds. If I spoke, 'twas to the trees.
Did they speak back?
Don't be foolish. I recall the first time I crept beyond the edge of the wilds. I did so in animal form, remaining in the shadows and watching these strange townsfolk from afar. I happened upon a noblewoman by her carriage, adorned in sparkling garments the likes of which I had never before seen. I was dazzled. This, to me, seemed what true wealth and beauty must be. I snuck up behind her and stole a hand mirror from the carriage. 'Twas encrusted in gold and crystalline gemstones, and I hugged it to my chest with delight as I sped back to the wilds.
I can't imagine that Flemeth was pleased.
She was not. Flemeth was furious with me. I was a child and had not yet come into my full power, and I had risked discovery for the sake of a pretty bauble. To teach me a lesson, Flemeth took the mirror and smashed it upon the ground. I was heartbroken.
You were just a child.
And a foolish one. Flemeth was right to break me of my fascination. Beauty and love are fleeting and have no meaning. Survival has meaning. Power has meaning. Without those lessons, I would not be here today, as difficult as they might have been.
But you don't need to live that way any longer.
Do I not? I am still an apostate mage, even if I have left the wilds. The Darkspawn are yet undefeated. No, there is much that remains. To return to your original question, perhaps my time in the wilds was indeed lonely, but such was how it had to be. I find myself at times wondering what might have become of the girl with the beautiful golden mirror, but such fantasies have no place amidst reality.
Alright, talk to her some more.
I await your command.
I'd like to ask you something.
So, full of questions, are you?
How did you become a shapeshifter? Or shape
I was
changer?
not born such. 'Tis a skill of Flemeth's, taught over many years in the wilds. The chastened have tales of we witches, saying that we assume the forms of creatures to watch them from hiding. When a child is alone and separate from his tribe, that is when we strike, dragging the young boy kicking and screaming to our lair to be devoured. A most amusing legend.
But it's just a legend, right?
So I assume. My mother has walked the wilds far longer than I. Who am I to suggest what things she has done and not done in her past? Why do you ask? Is there something specific you wish to know?
Can you change into other human forms as well?
The form of an animal is different from my own. One may study the creature, learn to move as it does, think as it does. In time, this allows one to become as it is. I gain nothing by studying another human. I already am the same as they are. I learn nothing. So the answer is no, my human form is the only one I possess.
Can anyone become a shape changer?
Anyone with sufficient will. But the act of transformation is a magical one. 'Tis a spell and thus requires a mage's talents. If you had a notion to learn such a skill for yourself, sadly, you must remain disappointed.
Sad face. Do you spend a lot of time as an animal?
There were nights when the wilds called to me, 'tis true. You look upon the world around you and you think you know it well. I have smelled it as a wolf, listened as a cat, prowled shadows that you never dreamed existed. But my life is as a human. I am under no illusions to the contrary.
And what do other animals think of you when you changed?
They do not shy away from me. To their senses, I believe I seem like any other of their species. As to what they think, I truly cannot say. Just as I am still human, no matter my form, they are still animals. Thus they cannot speak, even were I to ask.
That's all I wanted to ask.
Indeed. Have you an opinion on my abilities, then? Am I an unnatural abomination to be put to the torch?
I think your abilities sound quite useful.
Oh, you're simply full of surprises, little man, aren't you? But enough
Little?
of such talk. Let us proceed, lest the dust gather on us.
Little, huh? We'll see about that.
I await your command.
I'd like to ask you something.
So, full of questions, are you?
Did you grow up in the Kokari Wilds?
Why do you ask me such questions? I do not probe you for pointless information, do I?
You can probe me anytime.
Beg pardon then, while I jump for joy. What is it you asked if I grew up in the wilds? A curious question. Where else would you picture me? For many years it was simply Flemeth and I. The wilds and its creatures were more real to me than Flemeth's tales of the world of man. In time I grew curious. I left the wilds to explore what lay beyond, never for long. Brief forays into a civilized wilderness.
But you kept going back to the wilds?
Would you not do the same? Your world is an unforgiving and cold place. The wilds I hail from is home to me, and I a natural denizen. For all that I had been taught, however, the truth of the civilized lands proved to be overwhelming. I was unfamiliar with so much. So confident and bold was I, yet there was much that Flemeth could never have prepared me for.
Very daring. That sounds like you.
Equal parts daring and foolhardy, perhaps. Only once was I accused of being a witch of the wilds, and that by a chastened who happened to be traveling with a merchant caravan. He pointed and gasped and began shouting in his strange language, and most assumed he was casting some curse upon me. I acted the terrified girl, and naturally, he was arrested.
That was quick thinking.
Men are always willing to believe two things about a woman. One, that she is weak, and two, that she finds him attractive. I played the weakling and battered my eyelashes at the captain of the guard. Child's play. The point being that I was able to move through human lands fairly easily. Whatever humans think a witch of the wild looks like, 'tis not I. Not that I did not have trouble. There are things about human society which have always puzzled me, such as the touching. Why all the touching for a simple greeting?
Let's see. Touching? Like a handshake?
To begin with, yes. What is the point of touching my hand? I find it an offensive intrusion. There were many nuances that Flemeth could never tell me of. When to look into another's eyes. How to eat at a table. How to bargain without offending. None of these things I knew. I still do not understand it all, truth be told, but then I gave up long ago any hope of doing so. When I returned to the wilds last, I swore to Flemeth that I had no intention of leaving again.
Well, I'm glad it worked out this way at least.
Yes? Let's ignore the entire Darkspawn threat in the presence of a simpleton as your only other Grey Warden ally, then. Not that I lack appreciation for the intent of your comment. Thank you. Well, let's get on with it before the ground opens up and swallows us, yes?
A few more questions.
Yes?
I'd like to ask you something.
So, full of questions, are you?
So, have you ever been hunted by the Chantry?
You are very cute to ask so many questions.
And you are cute when you were evasive.
Really? Perhaps we should be wrapped in ribbons and adorned with flowers. So cute are we, too. My mother has been hunted from time to time, yes, by Templar fools like Alistair, which should tell you how successful they generally were. Flemeth made a bit of a game of it, in fact. The Templars would come again, and she would look at me and smile and say that the fun was to begin once more.
You really had no trouble with them?
I am unsure. I was too young to understand, and perhaps 'twas bravado on Flemeth's part, or perhaps she was merely amused. I will never know. Flemeth would warn them, once. 'Twas a warning they inevitably failed to heed. And then the true game began. Often Flemeth would use me as bait. A little girl to scream and run and lure the Templars deeper into the wilds and to their doom.
Did you actually kill them all?
Me? No, I never did any of the killing, until later. And even then, Flemeth was a glutton for that sort of thing. Thankfully, the wilds is a vast place. Once they found us, Flemeth would simply move us elsewhere, and we would be lost within the forest once again. I did not understand the danger we faced until I was much older. I had never heard of apostates or maleficarum.
Do you still think that was fun?
I think that my mother made it fun so that a child did not learn to fear. And I think that it was necessary. There are no trials for apostates, no prisons, no mercy. There are only absolutes, so only survival matters. If the wilds have taught me anything, 'tis this. First, you must survive. Do you disagree?
You're probably right.
An enlightened view, or at least an agreeable one. Enough of this talk. Let us return to the task at hand.
There we go. Talk some.
Cold in my tent, all alone.
Well, we can't have that.
So you shall come to my tent? But whatever shall we do in that tiny little space together while we wait for it to warm?
I'm sure I'll think of something.
Good. Then let us waste no more time with foolish talk. I see the stories they tell of Grey Warden endurance are not exaggerated.
Hopefully you won't call me little man anymore. You're just saying that.
Not at all. Legends abound regarding such figures as Garahel, sordid though they may be. The unanswered question, of course, is whether the endurance exists because of the taint within you, or because the Grey Wardens are by nature so very healthy. I enjoy the thought that 'tis a little of both. Natural prowess, driven by a darker side.
So what now?
That is entirely up to you. Simply know that I have no designs on your independence. I wish only to do what I desire, and if that coincides with what you desire, then so be it. And should you decide not to continue our misadventure, then so be it. Very simple, is it not?
I can live with that.
Then we should get along marvelously. Come then, let us be off before the others begin to stare.
I'd like to ask you something.
So, full of questions, are you?
Is Flemeth really what she seems to be?
Well, that depends, does it not? What does she seem to be?
Human?
Oh, she certainly was human. Once. Tell me, how much do you know of the tale? The one that the chastened still tell of my mother, to frighten them into obedience.
I've heard a little.
No doubt such a tale has mutated much over time and telling. I can relay what Flemeth once told me herself, and you can decide whether or not 'tis the truth, if you desire.
That sounds interesting.
As the tale is sung by the bards, there was a time when Flemeth was young and beautiful, a fair lass in a land of barbarian men, the desire of any who saw her.
Just how long ago was this?
Many centuries, before this land was even named Ferelden. The tales say that Flemeth fell in love with Osen the bard, and fled the castle of her husband, the dread Lord Conabar, and that he swore vengeance for her infidelity. In truth, my mother claims that 'twas Osen who was her husband, and Conabar the jealous lord, who looked on from afar. Lord Conabar approached young Osen and offered him wealth and power in exchange for his lovely wife, and Osen agreed.
He sold his wife to another man?
The life of a bard is a poor one, and love fades in the wake of hunger. 'Twas Flemeth who suggested the arrangement. All would have been well had Lord Conabar kept his end of the bargain. But he was a foul man who bargained with coin he did not possess. Osen was led off to a field and slain, left for dead. Flemeth spoke to the spirits and learned of the deed, and swore revenge.
She spoke to spirits or demons?
Spirits first, and 'twas they who slew Conabar. Flemeth did not turn to the demon until much later. Lord Conabar's allies chased Flemeth, you see. Chased her to the wilds, and there she hid. There she found the demon, and he made her strong. The legends all speak of the great hero Cormac, he who defeated Flemeth and her great army when she invaded the lowlands centuries later. All lies.
Which she never invaded, or he never defeated her?
The truth of the matter is that there was never an invasion. As Flemeth tells it, the Chastened never raised an army under her banner, and she never fought with any warrior named Cormac. Cormac led a brutal civil war against his own people, and later claimed it was to vanquish evil that had taken root amongst the lords. Thus, he was hailed a hero. Flemeth was only attached to the legend much later. Perhaps 'twas due to the great war with the Chastened that eventually came, but Mother claims not to know how it began.
Do you believe her version?
I do not believe everything that Flemeth claims. Oft it seems her bitterness has colored her memories. But on the whole, yes, I believe this tale, if not all.
How is it that Flemeth has survived this long?
The demon within her has transformed her into something else. An abomination, perhaps some would say. I know not. I only know my mother is clever, and she is part of the wilds as it is part of her. But she is no immortal. She bleeds. A blade in her heart would kill her like any other, were it lucky enough to find her.
Aren't abominations usually insane horrors?
How often is this usually? Always? If not always, then when is it not true? There are more things in this world and the next than you or I could ever hope to understand. What Flemeth became is a mystery. I suspect, even to her.
The legend tells of Flemeth having many daughters.
You ask if I have sisters. I have asked of this myself. The stories tell of many witches of the wilds after all, not just the one. And these tales existed long before I did. Flemeth refuses to speak of other daughters, if they existed. So, should I believe I am her first? I doubt that too.
Why would she refuse to speak of them?
The Chastened tell of a falling out between Flemeth and her daughters. They say that one day she hunted them all through the wilds and ate their hearts. It may be true. I have never seen another witch or heard of one. Perhaps one day Flemeth will eat my heart as well.
An interesting story. Thank you.
Flemeth tells it with far more embellishment than I, but you are welcome. Dare I ask of your own mother? Few are abominations of legend, 'tis true, but I find myself curious nevertheless.
My mother died. Recently, in fact.
Ah, then you have my sympathies for what it is worth. Which is very little, I am certain. It matters not. Let us move on.
I'd like to discuss something personal.
We are in camp, so 'tis as good a time as any.
I'll do that right now. Let's see. Is anything
So,
else?
full of questions, are you?
Tell me, are you really Flemeth's daughter?
I assume you were actually asking whether Flemeth herself gave birth to me. Truly, I do not know. I once asked Flemeth that very question, and she merely laughed at me. 'Tis not inconceivable that she could capture a chastened man, or perhaps change to a more attractive form to attract him willingly. I find it more difficult to imagine her with child.
She was not always as old as she is now, was she?
As a matter of fact, I remember her being younger once. She had black hair, much like my own, long and lustrous. But how could that be if she is centuries old? Has she become wizened only recently? Or are the tales of her legend only that, and nothing more? I do know the tales of Flemeth having many daughters, even though I have never met another. And Flemeth has always treated me as her blood.
She doesn't seem very motherly.
Must one be a doting and simpering moron to be considered a suitable mother? Flemeth taught me everything I needed to learn. How to survive, the meaning of power, the truth of men. If other mothers do not teach these things, then I believe them the lesser.
I suppose that's true.
You suppose it's true? 'Tis true. Take yourself. You do not honestly desire such things from me, do you? 'Tis better to be free of such cloying and cluttering delusions as love.
Why limit yourself?
I do not consider it a limitation. Not leaping into a burning building also happens to be an experience best avoided. I tire of this discussion. Let us move on, shall we?
Alright, let's see if she has anything else to say.
So, full of questions.
Nope, nothing else. Alright, well, if you guys are still with me on this episode, well, we have completely talked to all of our companions, and we've gotten their storyline down for the most part. We have unlocked more side quests because we have learned more about them. So, yeah, we are going to go ahead and we're going to move on to Vigil's Keep. That's going to be the next episode. And that's my phone. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next episode.